Hey folks, it's a new day in the shop. I'm working on the JK today. I have started disassembly of the rear end, and we're going to be swapping the gear set out. These 321s, we're going to go with a 488 Yukon gear. Got the new set right there, and got it all apart. I've never done a Dana 44 in a Jeep like this year. They have changed them a little bit from what I'm used to. Used to the older Dana 44s. These Jeeps, Dana 44s, they have a crush sleeve style, where used to you didn't have crush sleeve on a Dana axle. You just had shims right here to set your preload, and you have a shim under here for your pinion depth. So it's going to be a little different. I think we'll be fine. We'll learn as we go here. I do have to take this bearing off to get that original shim out to know my shim depth. Typically they have a number stamped right here, or engraved, I'm sorry. This one says 70. I'm having a hard time believing that's 70 thousandths. That's why I want to take that shim off. I'll figure out the actual depth of it that way. We do not need to take these off, these carrier bearings off, because the old style, the shim would be on the back side and you'd have to drag the old bearings off and start. That would be your starting point on your new shims. But this style here has, it's kind of like a Chevrolet or a Ford 88. The shims go on the outside of your races here. And I only noticed, when I took it apart, I only noticed the one shim here. So that'll be our starting point on that. We do have the bearing setup kit right here, master overhaul. So hopefully it has all the shims we need in there. But I'm going to go eat lunch first. But then we're going to drag this pinion bearing off. If I can find a shim, use it, and then we have to take the outer pinion bearing and braces out of the hog head there and the seal, and put the new stuff in. I don't mind a crush sleeve style. It's one less step of having to put shims in, but sometimes it can be a booger. You can go too far with the crush sleeve, or not far enough, have issues with that. But the one thing I do not like on these Jeeps is the U-joint. You don't have U-joints in them anymore. You have this different style of joint, like a CV style, and that, getting that thing out of that pinion yoke, man, as a bear getting that out of there. It's been in there for 10 years rusted in, but it's doable. So I'm gonna go eat some lunch. All right, we got bearings on the carrier. We got bearing on the pinion. Did the old freeze and heat technique, and being it's already freezing out here, I didn't have to freeze the carrier or the pinion. So we just heated up the bearing. You could do this with the press, probably a lot easier. I don't have a press. I've always done things the hard ways because I'm hard-headed, and I'm not rich, I'm broke. I don't have all these fancy tools. I finally got a fancy bearing remover tool a few years ago to make it a little easier. Instead of having to cut the old bearings off, I can drag them off now. But little tip on heating your bearings up. And whenever you heat that inner, you want to heat the inner race on it. And whenever you do that, you don't want to do it and get it so hot that you discolor the inner race. If it starts turning blue or black or smoking real bad, you've went too far, and you've taken the temper out of there, and it's going to break on you. Typically I want to use my smaller torch instead of my acetylene torch over there, because you can burn them up, smoke them, unless you got a great big ass bearing. But the smaller bearings, I use my little torch, heat them up, have everything ready so I can drop it on and tap it on there. Sometimes you may have to tap it like I did, and usually I don't usually do it up here, but I did it for demonstration purposes. Usually I'll put it on the floor, something more solid, on my rubber mat over there, so I can get a good solid hit on it and ain't bouncing everything off my bench. But it didn't go on too hard. I was just lightly tapping it, make sure I was going down straight with it. So we got those on there. I did drag the shim off the old pinion, and you can see the difference in size of the new pinion and the old one. That lower gear, that pinion is much smaller. This one is much stronger, but with the lower gear, you do everything a lot easier when you're four-wheeling or whatever your situation is. You put a lot less strain on it, but the bigger the tire you go, the more likely the lower gear you go, you're gonna break that pinion. That's why a lot of axles, you go anything past a 488, they get so small and they break real easy. That's for this Dana 44. It's my other Jeep. I used to have 538 gears in it, and this pinion was even smaller. So, but I never broke it, and I've wheeled it for many years. But little tip that I've learned on like a Dana 30, Dana 44. Typically these bearings here have shims behind them like this, so when you're setting up your gears, you're basically taking a guess what shims you're going to have on either side. So what a lot of guys do, what I do is I have a dedicated set of bearings that I've buzzed the inside out with a sander and open them up where they slide on and off of here. So when you put this chunk in the rear end and tighten everything down, and you're trying to get your gear pattern and it's not right, you need to put different shims on either side, either carrier bearing, you can take that bearing off real easy and change your shims and go back with it, instead of putting your bearing that you're going to use on there and then your shim's not being right and you got to drag it off with the tool every time. You're going to damage that bearing more than likely when you're dragging it on and off there. So you got a dedicated set of setup bearings. Well, here's my tip for you. My dedicated setup bearings are Timkins. So whatever you're setting up your gear set in, and you buy a new set of a master install kit, make sure you get Timken bearings, or whatever your setup bearing is. Make sure your bearings you're going to be putting in there for good are the same brand, because I've messed up. I've learned the hard way. I had Timken setup bearings, bought Chinese cheap stuff. I know it's very tempting. Oh, it's that setup kit's $200, where this one's $80. Let's buy the $80 ones. Guess what? Put the new bearings in there, Chinese bearings. The carrier wouldn't even go in the housing, so I had to drag it back off, everything back off, back square one. Had to buy new bearings. Had to buy good bearings. So sometimes buying the cheap stuff doesn't always help you out. So anyway, we're going to get the ring gear installed on this differential now. Get the bolts all cleaned up, ready, and the ring gear on it, and we'll go from there. Got our ring gear out here, our ring gear bolts. Another little tip of the day. This one has two different sizes. Don't know why. You always want to Loctite your ring gear bolts in there. And Yukon supplied the new bolts for the ring gear, and wherever it went, Loctite. My tip for you, whenever you go to Loctite anything, This all comes oiled for keep it from rusting and shipping, sitting on a shelf, whatever. Look at the difference in that bolt. You got that one there. This one I just cleaned with brake clean. This one is not cleaned. It's got all that oil on there. Whenever you go to Loctite stuff and it has oil on the threads, it's not going to hold near as good as if you dry it off, clean it real good with solvent, blow it out, and then you Loctite it, and that Loctite will instantly set up with pressure and it'll hold forever. If you don't clean the oil off, you're taking a chance of all that stuff backing out. I've learned that from one of my previous jobs, so we couldn't have any failure on stuff coming back apart. So that's my tip: clean your threads with solvent before Loctiting. Got the pinion set in the axle housing with the 2 bearings, no crush sleeve, no seal, the yoke on it, and got the preload kind of close. This is just for setup purposes. We'll be pulling that yoke back off and putting the crush sleeve and seal in it back together once we get our pattern where we like it. But I always take a little bit of oil, put on these bearings before we stick them up in there dry. Spin it around, help out a little bit. And I did have to heat the ring gear up to get it on the carrier, because it's pretty close fit. So I just set it in front of the ready heater on a jack stand and let it sit there for about 20 minutes heating up, and that way it'll expand a couple thousandths and go right on there. And get all the bolts in it that I cleaned up and Loctited. And these ring gear bolts on these JKs require 135 foot-pound of torque on them, so I didn't rely on the impact to do it, because normally it's 55 on a regular Dana 44. But these have bigger bolts in them. I don't remember if I think there might be a 7/16 bolt instead of 1/2 inch, so they're a little bit more torque on them. So make sure you put your torque wrench on there, because you don't want these coming loose. We plan on driving this Jeep a lot of miles, so this ain't just a trail rig going out every other weekend for a couple miles. This one's driving across country, maybe not across country, but 300 or 400 miles at a time, and need to drive back home, not just a trailer. So I want to make sure everything's going to stay in there. I don't want to be replacing a rear end 2 states away or getting towed home. So we're gonna get this dude stuck in there and get the shim on it and get to setting our backlash and checking our pattern. All right, it's the next day. I got the ring and pinion in. The pinion is set with preload on the crush sleeve, which is a pain in the butt, by the way. If you ever had to do that, you'd understand, especially with the axle on the truck. But we got it where we're happy with it. And I have battled the shims on this carrier to get the backlash where I want it. Had it all set up before we did the pinion, just doing a dry run, trial and error, and I had 8 thousandths backlash. Took everything back apart, crush sleeve on it. Crush sleeve was too small to go on the pinion by 30 thousandths, so I had to put it in the lathe, aka 2-jaw vise with a 1-inch sanding drum to get 30 thousandths out of that thing to get it to go on. But all that's done. But I have taken this thing in and out. I've probably been 20 times getting the shims right. These shims do not want to go in. There's something catching it, and I finally got it. About to lose my cool, but now we've got I've got the axle shafts in. Everything tightened down. We're going to clean the brake rollers up for the Mercy brake shoes. They rust up and squeak all the time, so we're going to get that cleaned up. Those put on. The diff covers painted. Go back on, start putting oil in it, and get the dry shaft hooked back up. Got to run to town. I've got to get some the limited slip additive to go in the gear oil, because it is a clutch style limited slip. So I'm gonna get to this and we'll be back. Got it back together. Wheels, tires, brakes, drive shaft. Now we're waiting on the lovely 90 weight oil to go in the rear end. Seems like I always do differential stuff when it's 30 degrees outside, so your oil is like molasses and it won't flow, so it takes forever. Something I do, a little trick, not really a trick, just a hack. I take my 2-gallon sprayer, dedicated it just for 90 weight, fill it up. You run your hose up there and pump it up, and you can do other things while you sit and wait for this. And if you're stunned like me, you forget about it and it all runs out on the floor, and then you realize once you step in it, oh, I left that running. Then you got a big ass stinking mess to clean up. But we're going to try not to do that today. But I still have to go try not to forget to get some additive to put in there for the limited slip deal. We're gonna check our level here and possibly take it out driveway in the yard, see how the gears feel. I'm sure it'll make a world of difference at this thing. And we'll get her flipped around, and we'll start on the front end. That's going to be a lot more work, but we're going to take the whole axle out and put it up on the bench and do all the differential gear setup and the truss and gussets and all that up there, so I'm not down on the floor up and down 100 times. I think that'll be a little easier. All right, we're on our test drive, and first conclusion, it doesn't know what the hell's going on. We got a little squeaking rear end, not sure what that is. Stops when I hit the brake. Hopefully not a big deal. Can you hear that? I'll have to get it back in there and inspect that, but it doesn't know when to shift. There it went. And now it will not let you go into manual shift mode. And the ABS and traction control light finally just went out. Nope. I don't know if one of them brake pads ain't seated in there right or something. But we'll get back to the house. Seems like, oh, yeah, I don't sound good. It's like it's stuck in second gear. Third, something like that. Ah, well, we'll get back to the house, inspect it. Well, after some fiddling around and disconnecting the battery and taking it for another test drive, where I had to get a programmer and tell the Jeep what's going on, gear ratio, tire size, because if it does shift, it's kind of weird. It goes to second and it doesn't want to come out of second. When you stop, it don't want to go back to first, and you can't manually shift it into first like you could before. So we'll have to order one of them and get that plugged in, but we still got the front to do, so we got time. So I was hoping I can get away without doing that right off the bat, but that ain't gonna be that way, so we're gonna get started on the front end here after I go in and eat some lunch and pick up the tools. I've already picked up a load. I mean, jobs like this, it seems like you get every single tool out on the bench, the floor, underneath. But I'm gonna have to put some stuff away and clean up a little bit before we tackle this front. But you ask, why did I put the old gears in the bucket? You don't have to ask why. You know I'm a hoarder. But you never know. I get people asking me, calling me all the time for parts for this or that, and it's always stuff that I need. This is something I probably won't ever need, but if I threw it away or got rid of it, I'd probably need it, because my daughter does have a 2016 JK with 321 gears in it, so you never know. I don't want to say anything, but I have spares in case she would need them. We'd put them in hers, or I'll sell them. Hell, I don't know. We're just hoarders. Well, I haven't been filming a whole lot. I'm in a rush. I'm running out of time. It's Sunday. I've had a 4-day weekend. I've only had a day and a half to work on this, so I'm just busting ass getting this out of here. But I've got the front axle out. Everything went pretty good. It's hanging here on the hoist. I'm getting ready to lift it up, put it on my table, so the guy can have it right here and not so much down here. Help a feller's back. But the only thing we really had issue with getting out of there was the wheel bearings came out pretty easy after the guy got the bolts out of them. Them things hard all the way out, but the bearing, oop, popped right out. Usually that's the other way around. Usually you got to beat and cuss and snort and everything else to get them bearings out. But all the bolts came out of the trailing arms pretty good. Track bar, ball joints, knuckles popped right off of there. Wheel bearings feel good. Tie rod ends feel good. So we're going to get this up on the bench and see about getting the ring and pinion out of it, and get it set up, cleaned up, and see if we can get the rough country truss figured out and laid out, and if we can read the instructions. I have got it figured out where everything goes, all the bracketry laid out. Got the gears out. They're sitting there. Those gears had some wear on the teeth. They didn't have any shavings or nothing inside the hog head. Oil looked brand new. Was leaking a little bit. It was a little low. The seals, inner seals, been leaking coming out here. Lower ball joints are a little bit loose. Uppers felt great. We do have new ones sitting in that box right over there. But all in all, these brackets, I think they'll turn out pretty dang good. I'll have to massage them and cut the sharp edges off some places where it'll fit up a little bit better, but clean all the paint off. I put the differential caps back on, tighten them down. I'll bust these seals out too before we start heating and doing any welding. I'll have to really watch. Be leaving these bushings, upper bushings in. Probably supposed to take them out. We're going to leave them in and hopefully not burn them up. We'll try to keep some of the heat off that directly, but all in all, it seemed like a pretty good kit where everything fits up. We got the C gussets on there. These C's on the outer axle, man, them things, there is not much to them. That's probably a good thing to put them gussets on there. That little Dana 30, there ain't much to it. Little bitty bolts. These are these 7/16, and one on the rear end, they're 5/8. That Dana 44, it just tells you the difference of the size and strength of it. This Dana 30, they should never put these in Jeeps. these Jeeps they're about as heavy as a full-size truck. You shouldn't have a Dana 30 in there. Your wheel bearings and ball joints are about the same size as a Dana 44, but the tube and the housing and this other stuff is not comparable to Dana 44. But it's what we got. We can't afford to get anything else, so we'll gusset it up. We're putting a differential on the front end. It's a helical limited slip. It's cheap eBay. Hopefully it works. I don't see why it wouldn't. But this is about as far as I'm gonna go tonight. It's time to go in, get some supper, and clean up and get ready to go back to work tomorrow. Yay. All right, we'll see you guys. Yeah, we got our ball joints pressed out. Wasn't too bad of a job. We got the right tool. We got new ones in over here. I did take my needle scaler and seen what it would do on this cast and in the corners here on the weld, and hell, it blew all that factory paint right off there. And I still got to get in here and where the C brackets go, upper and lower, and I'm gonna take a wire wheel and a flap disc and clean it up the best I can, and do a little fitment. Sorry about that. Do a little fitment on these brackets, get them fitting a little bit better, and then we're going to tack them real good and get everything in place. And I think what I'm going to do is take this axle to work with me, so I have a little bit better torch and a lot better welder, and get it good and heated up and burn everything out, because my welder has a duty cycle on it. So when you start welding, you get a couple minutes and it'll shut itself off till it cools down, and I want to be able to weld it all out while it's warm. And welder at work will do a little bit better job of it anyway. So we're going to get to cleaning on this a little bit more. What is the world coming to? Everything is China. Okay, I think we got it as far as we can get it right now from home. Got a bottom C gussets tacked in. They go on there like that. I can weld that around, stick that back on, weld around there. Same with that one. A guy might even come in and put a little extra weld on the lower control arm brackets, just for shits and giggles. And I got to leave this top plate off of the main part of the truss, so I can weld all inside here. Then we can put the top plate on, weld it out. Like I say, we got to preheat the, maybe not the tube so much, but the C brackets and the center section, because they are cast. Get them heated up good and burn it in. So hopefully next time we see it, it will be welded out, and hopefully we don't destroy anything we need. I'm going to leave the old races in it for now. I might tape that up with some foil tape so nothing gets in there. Weld BBs, grinding grit, none of that garbage. But yeah, it's coming along. I gotta say, the Rough Country $100 truss kit and then C bracket brace seems to be worth it so far. But it'd take me hours to make, many hours to make something even, not even remotely close to looking this good. So I'm glad I bought it.